We are live. So happy Wednesday, everyone. Today we have the awesome Mr. Andrea Tuzzolo. Probably pronounced that not so well because I'm from Yorkshire.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, Andrea's kindly taken 20, 30 minutes out of his day to talk through his experience, both actually working with us in the 1% and the blueprint, but also the journey he's been on over the last 18 months. It's actually been, we were saying this just before we came on, probably 18 months since Andrea worked with us. And I think it's a really exciting opportunity to chat about this because it can show, I think, the power of what long-term coaching and behavior change can have, but also I think Andrea himself, and that's been the catalyst for him going on quite a journey, and he's going to share some of that with you, which will be really exciting to hear from. So before we jump off, Andrea, do you want to introduce yourself, who you are, what do you do?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Andrea. For those listening and wondering, I'm actually Italian. I've been in London for the majority of my life, and I work in finance as a finance manager for an investment company.
Awesome. So let's sort of rewind the clock a little bit. Say we had I think you probably saw some of this is way back when some of my content on social media, LinkedIn, maybe a post of somebody's, an ex-colleague, that sort of catalyzed you to have a conversation with me back then. What was going on back then that motivated you to have a call with a coach, somebody like me? What was going on?
Correct. Yeah. So I think I saw a post through a contact of mine, and essentially I was looking for something different, for something that I didn't do before, that I didn't try before. That's when I came across your post. So I did a little bit of research about the program that you offered, because I was struggling with a lot of different things, but primarily burnout, anxiety, depression, insomnia, you name it, mental health issues, whatever you want to call it. And I basically stopped living, in inverted commas, in the same way that I used to live and perform. And therefore, I wasn't giving enough into my job, into my relationship, into my friendships, so on and so forth. So I really wanted to do something unique or something different that I didn't try before. Hence why I then approached you.
Yeah, and I think like there's a spectrum with the gents that I work with and where you're at on that kind of burnout, overwhelm, not taking care of yourself physically, mentally, and then the impact that it can have. And I think you're probably on the harder end of that, right? You weren't in a great spot. And that was when I was talking probably 18 months ago now. So if we fast forward to today, it's a big old shift. What's been the biggest shifts and changes having gone through that process? So you went, right, we had a good chat. You went, right, let's do this, Luke, let's go. And we did, and we did a chunk of work together in the process. I guess, where are you today and what have you taken from initially that? But there's also been a lot of stuff you've done on yourself since then as well, right?
Yeah, so I would probably
big
say
question as well, to be fair. So jump off wherever you want.
It is, yeah, it is a big question, but certainly, I mean, if I need to nail it down to, one thing is certainly the change in mindset that the program has helped me achieve. Funnily enough, I came into the program with an idea in mind that I wanted to achieve X, whether it was, being able to put some boundaries or eat better, exercise more, look after myself, meditate, whatever that was. Through the program, I've actually realized that to me, what was important was to really change mindset by creating an habit, stick to the habit, break those kind of rules that no one else, I had created in my head. And last but not least, and I can't remember what phrase you used, but it was something to do with perfectionism being the enemy of progress, or or something like that, which I think is a
Perfect's the enemy
famous.
of good enough. I think that's
Yes, exactly. Yeah, the one I quoted, I think, is from Winston Churchill.
Yeah, I didn't make it up, unfortunately.
Yes, yeah, but it's but that essentially is what I the biggest takeaway. It completely, I have to be honest, completely, totally changed my life. I was at the point where I tried everything and nothing seemed to work. And this was probably, you don't remember this from the call, but I vividly remember from our initial call, my biggest fear was to fail again, was to, work with you as a coach and then not being able to achieve what I set out myself to achieve. And therefore, going back again, oh my God, I've tried this and it didn't work. And what I realized through the weeks and through the programs was that, it does take time to embed a habit. And the work that I was doing with you, that I've been doing with you, did not stop when the program ended. I had to be the one that, carried on, certain habits and, took them forward. So I remember physically, my challenge back then was, to lose weight. Now losing weight was, the least of my worries after a while, because then I realized, well, actually, you need to, tackle your anxiety, your depression, your burnout, this and that.
The
and
weight's
everything else.
more a physical representation of all that other stuff you just described. It's not the actual problem. It's just a symptom of the other things, right? And I think once you recognize it, if I fix my body weight, that's it. It's like, yeah, but there's probably other things here that are contributing to that in the first place, right? And I think it's that realization, isn't it?
Absolutely. And then eventually the weight, does come off. I've lost over 20 kilos. I'm back to who I should be, or where I should be, clinically wise, not that it matters as such. As I said to you, I was like a serious runner. Just before COVID, I was, training for the London Marathon. Obviously, COVID hit and, stopped exercising completely. Now I run half a marathon distance every single week without failing. I exercise twice a week. I go swimming once a week. And when I don't want to go, when I don't feel like going, I always have got this voice in my head that goes, what would Luke do? What would Luke say? So that really motivates me, to go and do it. Do not procrastinate. Just go out there. If you don't feel like doing 5K, just run 3 today. That's good enough. It's better than nothing. And it's that kind of, changing habit and mentality that
I think the thing there about the failing thing, I think what part of the program is realizing you will fail, and that's okay. Because it's this fear of failure or the perfectionism as well. What if that happens? Well, you're gonna fuck up, it's gonna go wrong. Okay. And it's that, what do you do about it after? And that's and it's that bit, I think, that's so powerful, because that's what unlocks you and allows you to be consistent. If you go, oh, I didn't do whatever I had planned perfectly, let's run, then I have to stop. It's like, no, you don't have to stop. It's like, it's okay. And it's not about being like lazy with yourself. It's just being fair, but also allowing yourself to recognize that it's not going to be perfect all the time, and that's okay. And then if you can let go of that, then the results are 18 months later, you're in a fucking awesome place, right? That's it.
No, absolutely. Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, but it's not just, the sort of, obviously the way that we talked about, but the program, it's not just about the way, it's about, mindset changes. I mean, there's a lot that the program gives, but it just like generally revolutionized my life. I was studying, I had a lot on work-wise. I was studying for a master's. I finished the master. I managed to achieve the distinction that I wanted to achieve. I've started off my translation business now. All those kind of things that before, for whatever reason, I never felt like I've got enough time. But it wasn't the case, because the time that I had 18 months ago is exactly the same amount of time that I've got now. It's just that I use because I'm in such a better place, I use my energy in a different way, and I'm able to give back the right amount of energy to all the tasks at the end.
And I think it's fundamentally because you're doing what you need to take care of yourself, and then, but not in an overly compromising way, but then that gives you the headspace, bandwidth, energy to focus on the other cool stuff that's important. But I think when you're overwhelmed, you talked about burnout, lots going on, feeling, I think very disempowered. Like if you're not taking care of yourself physically, you feel like you try and do everything perfectly, nothing's quite working. That's a hard place to feel strong. And, well, I don't mean physically strong, just mentally strong from. And then so how are you going to start a business and do all these other things within that? Whereas actually, if you've got the control around your life where you can control it and you're in charge of that, well, then that's easy. You're sort of taking care of yourself without it having to apply a lot of effort. So then the effort that where you're worrying historically, that can be applied to positive stuff, right? I think it's nuanced, and but I think it's an important distinction, because it's like, well, how do you find the time? It's like the time's there, but if you're feeling shit, you can't recognize it or see it, and you're using that time just to almost recoup, just to get back to a baseline, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And I'm not, I'm not more tired or less tired than I was before. It's just like, yeah, it's it is bizarre, because you need to go through as a process mentally to really realize. If someone would have said to me 18 months ago, this is where you will be in 18 months from now, from starting the program, I wouldn't have believed that, because I mean, for me, it's been it's been a game changer. So
awesome. And it's great to hear, because I, as a coach, passionately believe it's about, if you want to work with people, you want to help them change the behaviors and what they're doing, but for the better, for long term. Just doing something for a few weeks to shout at someone to get some results, well, you might have got the result, but if then they just revert back to what they were doing, what have you fixed or addressed? Nothing. For me, a conversation like this is really exciting, because it's like it's actually the point. I believe, there are programs and coaching things out there where we want to achieve something very specific. Fine. The way I work and what I believe my program and the 1% is about, it's about helping empower people so they can live a happy and rich life, both now and for the future. And what's great to see with you, Andrea, is like, you're living proof of that, which is fantastic. And it doesn't mean that life's all fucking perfect and hunky-dory, because we know that's not how life works. But I think having the tools and then the resilience to be able to work through that, and not just go, oh, it's all gone wrong now, I'm going to throw the towel in. That's the key. And I think you spoke just before we came on about being able to be consistent and work at it. Like, this stuff and the state you've got yourself into now in a really positive good place doesn't happen overnight, but it's the cumulative, sum of all the little bits, and not saying, oh, fuck it, and then the net result is where you are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yes, I agree. I mean, there's a few things that, I still, one simple thing that, came out of the program, without giving too much away, obviously, about the program, is the journaling thing. There's something that helps a lot. It's such a simple tool. And I know, we discussed that, men tends to be less inclined to journal as women are, and so on and so forth. So it took quite some time to convince me as well to do it, and that is something that helps a lot as well.
Well, it allows you, again, to be self-reflective, look at what's going on, and just be able to be objective. Like, in the moment when things happen, we can be very reactive. You feel, oh, who said that, and how do I feel, and why am I feeling like this? And when it's all rattling around there and you've got all these emotions bubbling around, it can be hard to be sort of practical or objective about it. If you then sort of get it all out and write it down and get clear about it, it's, maybe it's not as bad as I thought, or at least it allows you to be more objective about it. I think it's just tools to be able to be a bit more present with yourself and understand where you're at with stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes.
What would you say then, having come through the process now, was the most, so what was the most surprising thing that you've got out of the process?
The most surprising thing is that it worked, and I was a little bit skeptical to begin with. Okay, so that's that's it, because I think obviously there's a combination of lots of different skills that you have that you pass on to your clients, that some of which are maybe obvious, but is how you learn those skills, how you carry on, how you sort of build those skills into your life. So I would probably say
the fact that I
wasn't sure.
Good.
It worked. I mean, I wasn't sure. I was skeptical. I was like, okay, fine. And then obviously, of course, you go back, what do I have to lose? I've tried everything else. Why not? Well,
the result is where we are today, which is fantastic. And I think, like I already said, I am. When we messaged, we had a chat about getting this call in, I was just really excited, because it's for me, it's proof. Yeah, okay, I've got a program. I'm a coach. I've got my business is helping others to do that. So it's great to see that happens. But just taking a step outside of that actually working on yourself, oneself, personal development, parking my program, it's so powerful and it works. And I think there's lots of guys out there that maybe sit on the fence, don't think, what's about having a coach, or I can do it all myself. And they wouldn't necessarily apply that same logic to say they want to get better at golf and, you know, they have a golf coach in the golf swing or, you know, something like that. But when it's yourself, people are sometimes a bit funny about it. And I think for me, and I was probably that person, you know, 7-8 years ago, and I know the benefit it has on me personally, you know, I've been coaching and working on yourself, but also I think it is really powerful, and you're, you know, living proof of that, notwithstanding I'm biased, obviously.
No, I agree. I think it's also, you know, is I guess for me in the beginning, so if someone, you know, is sitting on the fence, you know, I think it's obviously, it is terrifying, right? To admit to yourself, first of all, I've got a condition, whatever that may be, that, you know, prevents me to be at my best.
Yeah.
And I think what's even more scary and terrifying for me, and I'm sure probably for other people, is to admit it publicly, you know, once you have uncovered it. So even to reach out to you without knowing you in the beginning, you know, was, you know, scary and terrifying. But then, you know, after that,
but the result is this. I think that's the thing as well, because
because
you've got it in your head and you know how you're feeling, or you've done it for a while. Verbalizing it and talking to someone makes it very, very real. It's like, oh, that's happened. But for me, the power of that is once you're honest with yourself and you've done that, it's like, well, now it's out. What do we do about it? And you know, and I get that it's scary, but like pushing it away means you don't actually act on it. If you know that there's something there, then you can do it, and then the result is like where you are today, Andrea. Well, look, it's been a really, really great conversation. I've got a lot out of this, and hopefully anyone watching this has. On that, if anyone was watching this, and like we said, they're sat on the fence, maybe they're in a similar place to where you were 18 months ago, not feeling the best, whether it's with me or anyone else, you know, the considering potentially asking someone for help, what would you say to someone who's sat on the fence around personal development and coaching?
I would just say, just do it. Just give it a go. What do you have to lose? Nothing, you know, all to gain. So yeah, it's a great program. It works as long as you're willing to put, you know, effort in, be consistent. And yeah, I think you are a fantastic person. As I said to you, I think from the very first day, you're very, very, very easy to talk to and very likable. And therefore, for me, it was easy to open up to you as such. So obviously, you know, that kind of personality thing helps as well. So I think you're in the right job, essentially.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Well, Andrea, I really appreciate your time. Thanks so much. And I know this chat's been a long time coming, but I've really enjoyed it. And I think it's like just on a personal level, it's so great to see that you're doing so well and thriving. It's amazing. And from a business perspective, it's great to see that someone who's come through my process, you know, 18 months out is still not only doing okay, but thriving. So it's amazing. So thank you. For anyone who's watching this, if you are interested in having a conversation, you know, you'd like a chat about what I do and how we can help, drop a note in the comments or drop me a DM. On that note, have a fantastic week. And yeah, cheers, guys. Take care.
Likewise.